Okay, hello everyone. My name is Adrian Anderson. Welcome back. This is going to be, I guess, really the second part or second video in the series, but really part one of integrating, implementing Oracle CPQ to order management to subscription management. So we have some plumbing to do, some integration setup to do, likely in this video and maybe the next one. So let's get to it. Fair warning, this is, at least I find, a little bit boring, a little bit tedious, but this stuff needs to be done. It's groundwork. So we have to set this up before we can move on to anything else, okay? I'm going to be following a document. I should be able to make this document available to you all. So if I am able to do that, I'll post a link in the description. But if not, if I'm not able to just post it in the description widely available, just reach out to me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email and I should be able to get it to you. So I'll do my best either way. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so first things first, we need to verify our parts integration. So I'm over here in CPQ, as you can see, and I'm going to come down to the product section here. This where it says products, you may see items here, but this is the page you're looking for. Okay, the part administration page. Okay. And what you want to verify is that you have this, first of all, this item master subheader, and you want to see unified products here. And you also want to see this integration button here. If you don't see this, you'll need to create an SR to essentially tell support that you want to set up the parts integration and you want CX Sales Fusion to be your parts master, okay? And let's just click on the integration tab here and just take a look. So yeah, we'll come back and look at all this stuff later, but you if you have this here as it looks, you're doing good. Okay. So let's come back to our settings. Let's go to configuration settings. We'll need to come down here towards the bottom and we're looking for this section here, options, unified product sync. Okay. We want our REST notification name, in my case, to be PRD, product workbench. And we want to have our mapping ID to be this value here. And of course, bomb sync available. You may be asking, how do I know what these values are? I will show you where to find them. They may be different from you, or you may need to set those up, or set this one up. So we will get to that in this video. Okay, so next we need to come back over to Fusion. Here's where we are. I'm already logged in. Now, of course, you want to make sure the user you're using has all the permissions you'll need. I should cover that in this video as well, but I know my user has everything I need. So I'm going to come to separate maintenance here, which is up in the top right, this menu here. And I'm looking for a task. I'm going to search for that task, and that task is called Manage Oracle CX Sales to Oracle CPQ Integration. I'm just copy and pasting here. Okay, so this is what you want. So search for that, comes up here. And so if this is a fresh site, you may not have either of these, but particularly this second one here. So what does this say? Create product with CPQ, synchronize price lists, and price list items with CPQ. Here's my CPQ site, process name, the transaction, variable name. I'm going to change this to 18 because I'm in 25A because it's 18 now. We can save that. Shouldn't cause a problem. Yep, we'll continue. Active, root, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So you likely will need to create all of these. And I don't know, to be frank, how to get these strings, but the document I'm working off of does have at least this string here. So you should be able to reference that. But just in case I'm not able to get it to you, please pause the video and copy and paste it. Fun fact, if you take a screenshot with an Apple device, you should be able to just copy the text. It's a little complicated text, so just be careful and do your best. And of course, you want to define the price of the product here. And this is the drop down menu. There's other stuff here, but this is the one we need. All right, so I did mention user rights. So if you don't know how to do that, um, I'm just going to start from the top so you can know how you set up users. First of all, we need to come back to setup and maintenance. And of course, to do this, this assumes you have access to a user to create users. So chicken and the egg kind of thing. Um, it really doesn't matter the setup area you're in. You should see users and security in any of them, and they're all going to kind of take you to the same thing. But I'm most comfortable in sales, so I'm going to switch to my setup area to sales, users and securities, manage users, and well, should allow me to search all users, but it doesn't. If you need to create a user for yourself or a specific person, you just want to click this add button here. I'm not going to create a user because I don't need to, but you're going to enter some basic information here. Once that's done, you'll save and close or just cancel. And then we want to come over to the hamburger in the top right, come all the way down to tools. We're looking for security console. This is where you're going to give provision rights and roles. So we're going to come to users. We're going to search for the user. Let's just find my user here. This is me. And these are all the roles I have. To, again, set roles or provision roles, you can click edit, add role, and you can provision roles distinctly, or you can find a user. Let's say find a role user distinctly, and then you can basically copy the same roles this user has to the user in question to encase me. I've already done this, so I don't need to do it again. That's fine. There are roles that you need. Like I said, you'll need the application implementation administrator, application administrator, sales administrator, application implementation manager, and the application diagnostic administrator. Minimums. After you have your roles provisioned, we're going to come back to setup and maintenance, users and security, and we need to run this job here, run user and role synchronization process. So let's do that. And we're just going to submit. It's usually quick, so we won't stick around and wait for anything after that, okay? All right, so next we need to create a data structure, data security policy for product structure. So we're already in setup and maintenance. We need to come to this job here, or this task, which is manage item classes. We'll come here. And we want to go to our root item class. You should see the root item class always. It should always be there. We're going to come to security. And we want to create a role. I don't know if there's any roles here, just out of the box, brand new. But this is the role we want to create. So we want our principal to be group, name, sales system integrator. The organization, this is going to be your warehouse organization. 000 is like the core of your organization, but you may have other organizations. So make sure you put that one here as well. Those there as well. And that should be it here. I don't think you have to do anything with actions, but if it's giving you any trouble, maybe just copy the ones I have here, okay? All right, next after this, we need to set the enable data integration profile option. It's a mouthful. So let's cancel this. Let's click done here. We're already in our search for tasks. So this is the task we want here. Manage administrator profile values. Okay. And we are looking for this profile option. I have the code here. Let me see if I can't show you the whole thing. Actually, I will. Let me just search. You'll be able to see it here at the bottom. So this is the code we're searching for. Enable data integration. And this is simple. Search this, find the profile option, and if you don't have it already, click this add button to create another entry. The profile level is going to be site, and the profile value will be yes. So that's pretty simple. Okay. Now, let's review the predefined integration mappings. So to do that, we need to be, first of all, outside of a sandbox. So if you don't know, in Fusion, when you want to make big what I'm going to call big changes, you want to be inside of a sandbox. Let me show you what that means. So I'm going to open that hamburger again, and down in tools, no, down in configuration, we have these things called sandboxes. I'm going to enter one later, but for now we're going to stay out of it. But in this case, we are going to come to Application Composer, or App Composer for short. And we want to come over to Data Integration Management. And we are looking for Manage Integration Maps. Okay. So remember this here. Notice, let's just copy this. I like to copy and then do Control F. Control F. This is what this correlates to, okay? So this should already be here. It was already here for us. If it's not here for you, you may have to create it. I'm not sure if you need to create an SR. Frankly, for the transparency, these are Oracle demo sites. A lot of this stuff was done for us. So won't be able to show you how to do it, but this is what you want to see here, hopefully. Of course, you can, in the top right, you see here, you can create it, but note, this is what we're looking for. So we can review this. Let me just make it a bit, well, open it and we can see. Synchronize parts with CPQ, okay, simple enough. And this is, if you are able to tell, like a pretty standard mapping. Let me do this. So part number. So this is essentially saying, because I like to use part number, it's a pretty simple thing that most people understand. But the infusion, the product number is going to be mapped to the CPQ part number field. Okay. Um, let's see another one. Okay. Description, translated description, extended description one, all these things. So this is just the mapping here. Okay. So we want to verify this is there. There's also, if we go back, one for the product structure. Because we're integrating not only products themselves, the individual items, but also the product structure, so the bill of materials. And this is an integration to the CPQ BOM item definition table. And again, same kind of thing, quantity, the default quantity, uh, component item description to label, component item number to part number. So again, the same kind of mapping we saw before. Okay, so now we verify this. Let's go back. We're still in App Composer. We're going to come to routines now. And this is where we are going to define, for lack of a better phrase, I guess, the routines. So when the integrations we just looked at are going to run, this is where we're going to define them. The criteria of when they'll run, their trigger, and then rules of what should actually be integrated. So let's look at some of these routines. Let's look at the product workbench. This is going to be the product integration. So we give it a name, an object, products, of course. We can set when it's going to trigger. Or we can run this routine hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. When a record is created, when a record is deleted, or when an attribute is changed. So when any of these attributes are changed, this routine will run. Okay. This is the um the mapping that we're going to run, the integration we're going to run. And here we're going to define some rules. So we're going to include basically all the parts where the launch status isn't draft, when the status isn't draft. So that's basically what we're doing. And here's the number 2, product workbench 2. This is for the bill of materials, so the structures. Again, product structures. When a record is created, we're going to run it. Here's that same mapping that we're going to do. Or this is a different mapping, but we saw it before. And no rules, so basically everything. All right, so now we're here in OIC. If you're doing this for the first time, you should see this Business Accelerator by Oracle, Oracle CPQ hyphen Oracle Order Management, pipe, manage quotes, orders, and subscriptions. You'll be able to click on this, get the latest. I won't be able to do it. Just gives me this error. I don't know why. I already have it, so it's not a big deal. So you should be able to get this. What this is a accelerator course, but the proper word or noun is going to be it's a project. So in the top right, I have this hamburger here, and you'll see projects. So I want to click on this. Close this. And there's already a bunch of projects we have. These are all from the training that we did in Redwood Shores at the January. So the people who were there, they kind of been through this already, but I'm assuming if you're watching this, you haven't. So let me just kind of walk through what this does. So this is the one I use right here. And we looked at this before in the part 1 of this, where we kind of just went through the whole thing. But I want to talk about this more in detail. So there's 4 parts to this project, 4 main parts anyway. We will have, and I'm going to go in what I'm going to consider least important to most important. We have, or really 5, I guess. But so we have events. Not really sure what that's for, frankly. If libraries, won't really use this. Not really sure what it's for primarily, but I guess we can use JavaScript if we wanted to. Again, we won't do that here. We have these lookups. What these are essentially just mapped lists. So in CPQ, we have one-time price, recurring, and usage. It's going to map to the Fusion price type of these codes. So this is kind of a mapping, right? When this value, we'll use these in other places, but these are here for just definition right now. So one time, this string as it is one time in CPQ is going to match this string in Fusion as it is. FOM stands for Fusion Order Management. We'll go back. So there's a bunch of lookups here. We have these connections. What these connections are, open these up. These are, if you can't tell, the Fusion Order Management REST connection, CPQ SOAP connection, CPQ REST connection, ERP events connection. Let's just open up the CPQ REST connection. This should not cause us any problem to open it up. And what this is the connection type, so REST URL, the connection type, okay, and then the credentials, the super user and the password here. So these connections are just basically saying, okay, what is the connection type we're making, SOAP or REST? What is the URL? And then what are the credentials? Okay, and the system needs to know this because it's going to be making API calls for you. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Let's go back and we're going to look at the integrations. These are where this is the workhorse of it all. Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the work is done. This is where the magic happens. Of all of these, the biggest one, I believe, is this CPQ Fusion Order Management Create Sales Order. This is the one that when you click Create Order, Submit Order, whatever you call your action in CPQ that triggers that integration from CPQ to Fusion, it's going to run this one. So let's take a look at this. I like the horizontal view. I'll give us more screen space and I'll zoom out a bit. And I'm going to collapse some of this stuff to make it a little bit more digestible. Basically, what this is doing is going to get a trigger from CPQ. It's a SOAP trigger, so it's going to receive a, excuse me, it's going to receive an XML payload from CPQ. Okay, it's going to do some logging, and then it's going to do a lot of stuff in this scope. So let's expand this judiciously. So it has a main flow here, and then it has a fault handler. Let's look at the fault handler shortly. Okay, so if there's errors, it's going to do some mapping. It's going to send a response back to CPQ. Well, I don't want to look at this mapping here. I want to look at the mapping that happens above in the main branch, but just know that this is a map. It's mapping. It's taking values from over here, mapping them to things that are over here. So that'll make more sense in a second. So we'll close that, come down or come back up to main. Okay. So as we're going from left to right, it's going to assign some values. It's going to do another map. And let's take a look at this map here. So on the left here, our source, this is actually, before we get to that, I'm going to clean this up a bit because as I start expanding this, it's going to get a little bit messy. I want to come to this little inverted pyramid, this filter here, and I am going to only show the mapped fields in both my source and my target. Should be a little bit easier. All right. So what this is showing is from the source, that CPQ payload we got, the XML payload, data XML, transaction, subdocuments, lines. Okay. It's taking the values from these things. All right, all this stuff. Notice how much stuff there is here, all these lines. And it's going to map it to the request wrapper. So REST APIs can usually will send a JSON object as the payload. And this is what we're building. We're building that JSON payload by mapping the values we got from the XML payload from CPQ to this request wrapper, which will be a JSON object here. Okay. So say, again, for example, let's find the part number. I guess it didn't show me the part number. I'm not sure why. So again, we're back and let's just find something that is quite simple here. Okay, so payment terms just has a function here, so let's not worry about that one. The freeze pricing flag. Okay, this is good. This is just a Boolean, and it's taking the freeze pricing flag, which is just a Boolean. I said that twice. From CPQ over to Fusion, okay? Or over to this request wrapper payload. So hopefully I make this clear. And again, just in short, so it's, again, crystal clear. All we're doing is taking values from the XML payload that we got from CPQ, mapping them to values in a JSON object, which is the request wrapper for the create sales order request REST API. So we're building that object based on the mapping. So, okay, I hope that's clear and not confusing. Let's go back. Once the mapping is done, then we will invoke this Fusion REST connection, the API, with the payload we just built here. Okay, so that should make some sense. Of course, this will return a response. We're going to assign values based on that response. We can look at this, but it's not anything crazy. It's just assigning values. Okay, and then there's going to be a loop. Let's close this. Again, this is just assigning more values. And we're doing another mapping because this is going to send a response back to CPQ. This whole thing is going to send a response back to CPQ. So let's look at this mapping, which is essentially going to be a flip of what we just did. Okay, so this is going to, oh, again, let's also filter for the map field only. This is our create sales order response, because usually API send a response. Here's a response wrapper. It's going to send us an order number, a source transaction ID, a status code, and an order key. And we're going to respond back to the CPQ with the status code, the order ID, source transaction ID, order number, and the order key. Okay. And then this response info. So that's essentially what we're doing. This is going to go back to CPQ. And that's what we saw when we did this in the live video, okay? We definitely, for sure, at least saw the order number come through, but other stuff came through. We just didn't pay that much attention, okay? So this is what this does. There's other things here, of course. There's a cancel sales order. There's a get sales order status. There's one for create renewal quote. This is used for auto renewals. There's an asset upsert flow. And there's a sales order sync status, okay? All of these have jobs. I encourage you to take a look at all of them. We won't actually have to take or touch any of them as far as implementation, okay? When you're implementing this and when this is Fusion to Fusion, really the only thing you need to do, is set up your connections. And if you have extra fields, custom fields that you've created in CPQ that you need in Fusion, you have to edit the mapping. Again, the only thing you need to do is when you're doing this for the first time, all this stuff should already be here. You just need to give the connections your URLs and your credentials. And then if you have custom fields, you will need to extend your mapping in any or all of these that are affected by those mappings. Okay. I will say this, because this may not be obvious. It took me a while to figure out. When you create new fields in CPQ, after you deploy them, you will need to come to, let's see, which one of these is it? You need to come to REST Web Services. I believe this is where it is. You'll need to generate your schema and WSDL. I did this. It worked for me. If it's not this that does it, it will be in your commerce process. I only have one here. I'm going to go to Deployment Center. And it's going to be this one here, generate schema and WSDL. So it's either here, probably safe to do both places actually. So generate the schema and WSDL here and in the web services part. And once you do that, back in your connection or your OIC, let's just open this one up. You'll need to regenerate endpoints. And I don't remember quite how to do that here. Give me a second, I should be able to figure it out. All right, I'm not able to find where you regenerate endpoints, but you will need to do that. So sorry, I couldn't show you, but you will need to do that. All right, so that is the plumbing that needs to be done, for this end-to-end flow, end-to-end integration. Again, we went through some of the setup that needs to be done in Fusion for the parts and the part structure integration. And we looked at the OIC project for essentially the order creation. Of course, it does other stuff like we looked at, but the order creation. So those are the two big things you need to do. So when we come back, we're going to look at the product workbench and configuration. So now we can get into actually creating parts and creating configuration. and then we'll go from there. So thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful. My name is Adrian Anderson, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.